Hey, ladies and gentlemen of the internet, my name is Adrian, and I am super excited to talk to you all about and announce that my company, outsource IT business that is Network Right, that I'm a part of and a partner at, is officially moving into a new home in space here in San Francisco. Oh, great.
Yeah.
It's official. As I went to make this video, there's kind of a three-step process here that I wanted to talk about before making this announcement. One was, of course, the team at large, the leadership team who's been a big part of this and making this decision, and then announcing it to our internal team and having them slowly move in and transition into this new space. Two was my close family and friends who I wanted to, of course, share the news with. And then lastly, and most importantly as well, my online family, a big part of who I am. And over the last 2 decades, I've continued to share parts of my life with. And this is one of those moments that I think is worth documenting. And as well as giving some insight into the behind the scenes discussion, decisions, and things that ultimately led to where we're at now, where Monday we will officially be moving into the office as of me uploading this video, or at least starting out of that office, I should say. You see, the business Network Right that I am a part of and started with my business partner back in 2018 has been one that it's an IT consulting company that we cater to startups in particular, helping build out their IT infrastructure with our technicians and things from networks, AV, help desk techs, the whole nine. It is one that originally started as a lifestyle business, one that quite literally we were working out of our living room when we started this concept and idea, and it was just he and I handling our clients and building out our service. It was something that we wanted to do to maintain our lifestyles and provide a lifestyle that we wanted to afford to live. Little did we know the kind of scale and where it would take us, nearly 5 years later. In that first year alone, we brought on a new business partner, and we also kind of expanded our service and our clientele, and we quickly learned that this was going to go from something that was a lifestyle business to something that we could really truly scale and build up and invest in if we really wanted to. And that kind of shifted our approach to where we wanted to see Network Right grow into. In 2019, during the global pandemic, there was a decision to be made whether or not we wanted to get our first official office space, or at least convert to something bigger than outside of our living room. And we weighed this decision back and forth because I'll be transparent, at the time between the three business partners, I was the one who was most against this idea. As somebody who spent the last 2 decades working out of a home office / studio, like I was very akin and adapted to the remote environment. It was something that I knew all too well. So during this kind of global pandemic where a lot of our clients in the tech sector were going remote anyways, it was something that I felt we didn't need to invest in at the time. And in hindsight, as they say, 2020, I was wrong, right? We made this decision to push forward with a kind of live-work compromise, but it was a space that the whole bottom floor would be dedicated to the office. So we were already widely expanding out of just the living room where we crammed 3 desks to a space that was nearly triple in size. And it was the first big decision we made to kind of kick off where we wanted the company to go. It was the first time I was commuting on a daily basis to and from work. It was the first place where we started to hire our first batch of employees. And that's where my mindset really changed, to see the collaboration, the training, the energy it brought to have this physical space that we got to call our office, and how that really changed my approach to how, I just went forward with everything with Network Right. Not to say that work from home remote isn't viable. We still continue to employ and have a remote team as well. It's just that there are certain intangibles that I saw that couldn't be replaced without having the office. And I think timing and opportunity wise, it was like what we needed to do for where we were at in that moment for our company, right? Despite all the trends and everything that was happening, it was an important moment for us to really build the foundational blocks for Network Right. Fast forwarding from 2019 through 2023, our team has grown tremendously. Last year alone, we've tripled in size, and thus leading us to the decision that we're talking about today, growing and going into our own new office space, fully dedicated, another space that again is nearly triple in size. So just really kind of taking things to the next level again. There was a lot of thoughts and consideration that went into this decision. There's a lot of research, a lot of behind the scenes stuff that obviously led up to this. One big part of it is we knew, just from a physical constraint perspective, given that I just said we tripled in size, our SF team and the amount of people that were coming into the office on a daily basis was growing. where we were going to be going in the early 2023 was we really wanted to scale. That meant like a lot more hires and new talent, meaning we would need more physical space. Like we were just physically hitting our constraints in our current space. So while we could kind of tough it out and kind of have that startup mentality, we really wanted to get a much bigger space, in a space that didn't just prioritize like actual square footage, but growth for not just the current team, but for the team and what it would look like in a year, and in 2 years, and potentially 3 years, so on and so forth. A space essentially that we can grow into. And that was our main focus throughout. Obviously, outside of space, there's all these other considerations that go into getting an office space, especially when you're talking about a city like San Francisco, the city proper, where we ended up, settling in and calling HQ. There's a very high cost of living, and that doubles so for the commercial real estate here, despite the market. So financials are always a consideration. Is this something that we can choose to invest in? What do the costs look like? What does the numbers look like from an upfront perspective to the long-term perspective? The inherent and hidden costs when it comes to getting an office. Maintenance, upkeep. Is there janitorial costs that we'll need to hire for? Moving costs. What are we going to need to do once we move in? Soundproofing, sound paneling for the conference rooms. All this different stuff that, behind the scenes, or initially you might not think of, you have to factor and weigh behind the scenes. And you weigh all of that and to say, is all of that worth, what it means for the team? Is it going to create a space that our employees is enjoy and are more productive? Is it going to be a space that we grow into and really fill out? Because if we're not planning on hiring X amount of people down the road, then do we need a space this big? All of these questions kind of go behind the scenes, back and forth. And there's a lot of internal discussions. As you imagine, you have to have some compromises, right? You walk in with a mindset of this is what you want, this is the ideal scenario. You see a ton of places and you have some give, you have some take. And there's certain factors you just have to weigh out. Everything from commute patterns and how it changes for yourself and your employees and how it affects your business, because we're a service-based business where we do need to go to client sites at times. So proximity to our clientele. And it's also just important for us to represent and be a part of that, Silicon Valley ecosystem. Furthermore, down to safety, security, all of these different things, again, you need to factor when it comes to securing this physical space. Ultimately, we landed on the space that we're about to move into, or I guess officially moved into, and it worked out is the kind of the perfect go-between for everything we wanted, right? There's certain compromises here and there, but one of the big factors that also helped us expedite this whole process was the fact that the previous tenant had left a lot of their furniture because they had to move out in a hurry. So we got to get that as a part of our, move-in deal, lease, whatever you want to call it, making that transition process a little bit easier. All the desks were there, conference room tables, furniture, seats, stuff like that, making the transition for our employees and teams a little bit more smoother. Now, with all that in mind, we're prepping the office. We're going to be adding our own personal touches. We're getting things like our logos and paints and adding our conference room amenities and so on and so forth, or conference room touches, to really make the space our own. And having these last couple of weeks spent slowly prepping the new space for us to get into, I can just say, like, looking back, it's crazy to see from the living room to this first initial office space that we chose to invest in to this new space that we're going to be calling home. As someone who has admired, covered, and got to witness the kind of startup industry from afar, and then more closely in the recent couple of years, and see all these companies and movers and shakers here in SF and abroad, to now being a part of that conversation, even if it's at a small scale, is something that is never lost on me. It's something that I couldn't be more proud of. I couldn't be more proud of our team, and I couldn't be more happy to see what we do with this space and what it serves as for a stepping stone into what we want to become in the years to come. So I'm looking forward to showing more of the office with you once we get it more tricked out and built out to our needs, giving you more proper tour and kind of insight into that side of things. But I did want to kind of give you some behind the scenes, a little bit look at the journey, the decision that went into making a big decision to invest in this space for us and what it means, and for the growth of the company as a whole for Network Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed. I look forward to keeping you updated as the road kind of goes forward. And as always, thanks for watching.